own with 3. He broke that tie that he was in with Justin Allgaier, who's got 2 wins. And then your Singer time winners are Jeb Burton and Myatt Snyder. The drivers that are holding inside the top 12 in points include Daniel Hemrick, Harrison Burton, Justin Haley, Noah Gragson, Brandon Jones, Jeremy Clements, and Riley Earps. Earps expands his lead over Brandon Brown for that final playoff spot now with 4 races left before the playoffs begin in the Xfinity Series. 82 points.
Yeah, that's over.
I mean, all but.
That's over. That's
when you think about
over.
it, this has been, and if you were listening on our flagship station before we came on the air, you're listening to ZMAX Racing Country. That's a Performance Racing Network, PRN production. They had Chase Briscoe on.
Yeah.
And he talked about it. We've talked about it. The lackluster year, for lack of a better term, that Stewart Haas Racing has had. I got to give credit where it's due. Number one, A.J. Allmendinger stepped up when he needed to, with a little bit of help from Mother Nature.
Right.
Eric Almirola, with an even bigger assist from Mother Nature a couple of weeks ago, or I guess now a few weeks ago. He's the one that has the one win, which is strange to say, that Stewart Haas Racing has this year.
True.
But Riley Earps, who came in and underwhelmed for the first half of this year, really stepped it up when he needed to, and suddenly now, from us wondering whether he had a chance to make the playoffs, you're calling it with 4 races left, over.
Unless let's just say an absolute miracle happens today in the finish of the Xfinity Series race that started last night.
Yeah, which we'll get back to in a second.
It's over.
We're going to get back to that Daytona thing here in just a second.
Yeah.
Then last Saturday night, IndyCar Series took to Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway, and it is a late-season run that has 2-time series champion Joseph Newgarden in contention for his 3rd title. He goes and gets the win by a bit more than half a second over Paddo Award. The winner said in the victory lane afterward, quote, "I couldn't ask for much more. I'm thrilled. We've got to keep going. We know this is going to be a climb, but this goes a long way tonight." Newgarden was one of those guys, yeah, he's got a couple of wins, but, I mean, just rabidly inconsistent this year.
That's the nice, fair way of saying it. Because
Well,
he's been way too much up and down.
Yeah.
Way more inconsistent than a typical Penske season.
Exactly. And with what they've got left, he's got to be much more consistent if he hopes to be able to hoist that 3rd title. Otherwise, it's going someplace else. Newgarden wins Award 2nd, then Will Powers in 3rd, Ricky Scott McLaughlin 4th, Sebastian Bourdais, Takuma Sato, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Simon Pagenaud, Marcus Ericsson, and Jack Harvey round out your top 10. The other Rookie of the Year candidate, we mentioned Scott McLaughlin in there finishing 4th. The other Rookie of the Year candidate, Romain Grosjean, finishing 14th in his oval race debut.
He finished 14th, yes. But
He ran, in some cases, you could say he ran better than 14th showed.
Oh, way better than 14th showed. He was on pace, if not quicker, than the top 4 at the end of the race.
If it had only been that much longer.
Yeah, if that strategy or that one caution had fell at the right
Yeah.
time, he was definitely one of, if not the fastest car on the track.
There you go. Updated points. Paddo Award is your new championship leader. Holds 435 points to the 425 points for second place, Alex Palou. And there's Joseph Newgarden. With the win, he jumps up into 3rd in points with 413. Definitely in contention. Scott Dixon with 392, Marcus Ericsson 375. Really the top 5, probably the ones with the best chance of being able to hoist a title, because when you get into 5th, you're talking about 100 points back or more.
Yeah.
We are keeping an eye on that rookie race. We would talk about Jimmy Johnson, but there's no point because he is no longer really in contention for this. It is between 2 drivers, and McLaughlin, with his 4th place finish over 14th place Romain Grosjean, gets a little bit of breathing room. It's not a comfortable seat, but he's breathing a little bit easier. 245 points to 222, but you still have 3 races left. We got that West Coast swing coming up. Portland, then WeatherTech, Laguna Seca, and wrapping up the year in Long Beach. All of these races, truth be told, McLaughlin can do very well.
Yeah.
But these are all road/street course races, which we know Romain Grosjean does very well as well. Mm-hmm. So this is far from over. Getting underway about the same time as we recap Sunday, we start off with the NHRA finals of the Lucas Oil NHRA Nationals. They were in Minnesota at Brainerd Raceway. In Top Fuel, stop us if you've heard this before. Steve Torrence made the finals.
Stop.
Uh-huh. He comes in and he takes on Clay Millican. Torrence came into the finals with 15-9 edge over Millican in all-time matchups. Millican actually gets off the line 1/1000th of a second quicker. Let me go back to that stop if you heard this before. Then it was all Torrence. 3.712 ET, 323.74 miles per hour. In the process, Steve Torrence claims his very first win at Brainerd Raceway. Mm-hmm. And this means that Steve Torrence, 47 wins in his career, 7 this year, and he has won at every single track that the NHRA Top Fuel Division visits in a year.
That's crazy.
Not too many drivers can say that they've won at every track that they go to. Congratulations to him.
That's insane.
That's how dominant he's been. It's strange. Matt Hagan paired off against Cruz Pedregon in the finals of Funny Car, with Matt Hagan up 20-10 over Pedregon in their all-time matchups. And Pedregon apparently was feeling pressure and was asleep at the light. Hagan extends his advantage over him. Because of it, he wins with an ET of 3.923 at 327.98 miles per hour. Hagan grabs his second win of 2021 and 38th of his career. The other series that we follow, or divisions that we follow, NHRA's Pro Stock Car, Pro Stock Motorcycle, and Factory Stock Showdown did not run in Minnesota. And that brings us to the standings, where 8 of the 10 countdown to the championship slots are claimed in Top Fuel. Steve Torrence, Brittany Force, Antron Brown, Mike Salinas, Leah Pruitt, Sean Langdon, Clay Millican, and Justin Ashley are in. Billy Torrence and Doug Colita hold the final 2 slots but are not locked in yet. 7 of the 10 slots are claimed in Funny Car. Matt Hagan, Bob Tasca III, J.R. Todd, John Force, Ron Capps, Robert Height, and Alexis DeJoria. Now, Cruz Pedregon, Tim Wilkerson, and Blake Alexander currently in on points, but again, not locked in. And then we go to the final event of racing last weekend, and that's the Cup Series in Michigan, where with 8 laps to go, Ryan Blaney gets out front. He's able to hold off to the rest of the field to get his second win of 2021. And here's the thing. Those were the only laps that Blaney led all day, but as we've always said, you only need to lead 1 lap to win a race as long as it's the last one.
That is more than stinking true.
Blaney gives thanks to Kyle Busch for getting him out front and giving him the win, and it improves his playoff seed. He bests William Byron by 77 1/1000ths of a second. Nice tight right there.
Very.
Third place, Kyle Larson. Then you got Kurt Busch. More on him later. Denny Hamlin, Matt DiBenedetto, Kyle Busch. It's amazing. He gives Ryan Blaney that shove, and he ends up falling back down that far. Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, and Martin Truex Jr. fill out the top 10. Again, no new winners here. Here are the playoff contenders. Kyle Larson is your 1 seed right now with 5 wins, 3 wins each for Martin Truex Jr. and Alex Bowman. Oh, by the way, that does mean that with only tonight's race left in the regular season, Kyle Busch is your 1 seed going into the playoffs. Martin Truex Jr., Alex Bowman, again, with 3 wins each. Then Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, and Ryan Blaney in there. 2 wins apiece. Single-time winners, William Byron, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Christopher Bell, Michael McDowell, and Eric Almirola. So seeding could still be altered with tonight's race. And again, with only Daytona left in the regular season, Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick, even if they don't win tonight, they're locked into the playoffs on points.
Right.
They're safe.
Yep.
Tyler Reddick is in, but he only holds a 25-point lead over Austin Dillon for that final slot. We're going to get back to this here in just a second and deal with the relatively few scenarios that are available for a driver to lock themselves into the playoffs tonight.
Yeah. It's my opinion is pretty much one scenario and one scenario only. That's it.
I would agree. This weekend's slate of races was supposed to begin last night with the Xfinity Series running the Wawa 250. By the way, for those of you that don't know what a Wawa is, it is a mid-Atlantic, read Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, a string of convenience stores.
There are some now in extreme North Carolina.
Okay, so they're expanding out.
Filtering down. Yeah.
Kind of like Buc-ee's. Sooner or later, there's going to be a clash. I'm looking forward to it myself because we've been to Wawa. When we went to Richmond a couple of years ago, we visited a Wawa. It was a very nice place.
I would agree, for sure.
And they serve up pretty good food. A la Buc-ee's, if you haven't been. I'm not...
Pretty good.
Good, nice, brightly lit, clean facilities on both sides. This could be a nice little battle. And we, the consumer, end up the beneficiary. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So they got started last night. How far did they get, man?
They got to lap number 20 before classic, classic common
Daytona Mother Nature
Florida Southern United States weather.
When we tried to go to this race, was 2020? 2019? Good grief. In some cases, time has crawled by, and in other cases, time flies by. We tried to go to this race in 2019, back when it was still in July.
Mm-hmm.
And we came across this exact same thing.
And then some.
Rain. And it's the same thing now. Yep. What's the forecast for today?
Rain.
Okay.
As usual.
They're supposed to try and get in the Xfinity race starting at
11:30 sharp. They're going to go back green at lap 21.
That's Central Time.
Yeah,
with 12:30 p.m. Eastern.
AJ Allmendinger leading with Noah Gragson sitting in. No, he got shuffled out. Excuse me.
Okay.
Christopher Bell sits second. Myatt Snyder third. Austin Cindric and Brett Moffitt currently sets at top 5. The only one person that is currently out of the event, which if I'm JGR, I'm either punching the crew chief in the mouth or firing the driver because how do I word this? A windshield tear-off came off of another car.
Okay.
Got pinned to the front grille. Left a very small opening in the grille.
Yeah, which means overheating quickly.
Overheating very quickly. Mr. Jones decides or either the crew chief somebody decides to leave him out. For 2 laps.
No.
Little water stream that we know how it goes, kids. It goes from this much to this much. And we're pushing water, guys. I don't know how much we're pushing. You don't say.
You're emptying your radiator.
Yeah, and then they go try to put the cool down unit and recycle the water through there and smokes the engine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bad call all around.
Yeah, good job on that part.
And talk about hurting everything.
And he was running second at the time.
Ouch. Yeah. Tonight, Mother Nature permitting, Cup Series runs their final regular season race at Daytona, competing in the Coke Zero Sugar 400. MRN Radio and NBC have the coverage, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Time. And hey, Formula One summer break is finally over. They are slated to run tomorrow morning the Rolex Belgian Grand Prix on the 19-turn, 4.35-mile-long track at Spa-Francorchamps. ESPN has your race coverage 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time tomorrow. Camping World Truck Series, IndyCar, and the NHRA are off this weekend as the only other series that are in season at this time. When we come back, welcome to silly season. Couple of seats got locked down for next year. One of them, highly rumored, actually came to fruition.
Yep.
What exactly are we talking about? We'll tell you about it when we come back. We're just underway right here on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
As we continue to navigate life amid COVID-19, the Alabama Department of Public Health is still here to provide updated information and guidance to help you make more informed healthcare decisions. For general COVID-19 questions, you can call 1-800-270-7268 or send an email to covid19info@adph.state.al.us. Telephone calls are answered from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. daily. That number again is 1-800-270-7268.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
I love my Charmin Super Mega Golden Rolls, yeah. Gold last long, it's TP Gold, yeah. Charmin's got 6 rolls in one, lasts forever on my buns. Only super mega when I'm cleaning. Charmin's got my booty believing.
Charmin Super Mega Roll is 6 regular rolls in one. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Did you know that the arrow in Amazon's logo represents A to Z? Maybe the My Computer Career logo should represent unemployed to employed. Ryan was out of work when he started his classes in March, and in September, he started his IT career, working for Amazon, making more money than he ever thought possible. Here's a prime opportunity. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You can start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Garrett Dvorak throw a virtual baby shower for his wife, Ellie.
Just to see everyone's expressions, I don't have words for it.
Because when you move to Total Wireless, you can get amazing devices on 5G. And with unlimited plans starting at $25 a month per line for 4 lines, you could save up to $80 per month.
Total Wireless, you guys pulled through.
Total Wireless, do amazing. 5G capable device and SIM required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. Savings claim made when compared to 4-line postpaid plans of the leading carrier for 2021. See terms and conditions at totalwireless.com.
2 tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Our thoughts and our prayers going out to the Gulf Coast, specifically what looks to be right now the Louisiana area.
Yeah.
Hurricane Ida officially became a hurricane yesterday, Friday, as we are live, if you happen to be catching a recording of this, Friday. And by the time it hits the Louisiana coast, it is estimated that this thing could be every single bit of a Cat 4. And that, strength-wise, is equivalent to, and oddly enough, on the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, which we all remember so well from 2005. Then that thing is supposed to come up, run up through Mississippi, and take, or at least start to begin to take, a northeastern curve, which means that the northern half of the state of Alabama is in its crosshairs. Our friend John, our producer, in northwest Alabama, where he lives, is likely to get the brunt of it. They're talking between 4 and 6 inches of rain, easily possible. Largest metropolitan area in the state of Alabama, which is where I live, is 2 to 4. And over here in East Alabama, at least 2 inches of rain, where Matt Nicholson lives.
If not more.
And potentially more. A lot of it just kind of depends on exactly what track this thing takes. So our thoughts and our prayers are with everybody who is in the line of fire on this. But this is also a time that you might want to think about your house. And more specifically, its foundation. And whether or not it's solid. Because let's face it, 2 inches of rain, 3 inches of rain, 4 inches of rain, 6 inches of rain. Serious problems if you have a foundation situation. Because you got a crack in your foundation, that could allow a whole heck of a lot of water. And I'm talking about inches, when we get inches of rain in a pretty short period of time coming into your house. And that's only going to make whatever foundation minor problem you might have that much of a bigger problem. So you need to get yourself fixed, or you need to find out whether there is something that needs to be fixed. And that's where our good friend Michael Hart, Knox Foundation Solutions, comes in. Give him a call and set up an appointment. No cost, no obligation to you. Michael will come out. He'll take a look at your house, inside and out, top to bottom, underneath, everything. And he'll give you a written, no cost, no obligation foundation assessment that tells you you have a problem or you don't. And that's that. If you don't have a problem, you shake hands, you've got it on paper, you're good to go. He goes his separate ways, and you all have a great day. But if you do have a problem, especially after as much as 6 inches of rain falling, maybe more, you're going to want to get it fixed. And Knox Foundation Solutions are the people that you want to do that with. So if you do have a problem, call him, 205-362-6419, set up the appointment, or email him, mike@oxfoundations.com. He'll come out, he'll take a look at it. And if it turns out that he comes out with a written foundation assessment that says, here's your problem and here's what it's going to take to fix it, you remember this code, WEST, W-E-S-T, my last name. You'll get 15% off of whatever repair costs you might have to incur. Not bad at all. 205-362-6419 or mike@oxfoundations.com. Set up your appointment if you live anywhere in the state of Alabama from Huntsville to Mobile, Tuscaloosa to Auburn, Florence, Muscle Shoals to Dothan. Don't care. Wherever you are, if you're in the state of Alabama, Mike can go and he'll check out your house for you. And he'll be happy to do it.
Absolutely.
Give him a call or give him an email. All right. Before we get into the news, you said that you think that there's only really one playoff clinching scenario tonight. Technically, there's more than one. Technically, there's more than one.
Yep.
But not by much.
No.
Only one slot remains. The clinch scenario is actually quite simple. Tyler Reddick right now is in on points, but he is only 25 points over Austin Dillon. So, yes, it would take a lot. Austin Dillon would have to have a great night, and Tyler Reddick would have to have a horrifically bad night for Austin Dillon to overtake him on points. But it is possible. Then there is, past that, any driver who is inside the top 30 who might win tonight would clinch the spot from Reddick or Dillon as long as that driver at least attempted to qualify for each and every 2021 race up to this point. That's how Eric Almirola's in. Because if you looked at Eric Almirola, without the win, he's like 24th, I think, in points or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
But because he has the win, he has at least attempted, he actually has qualified, because he's got a charter, for every single race in this year. He's now in the playoffs, locked. So that's it. It's either Reddick, Austin Dillon, or a driver inside the top 30 who has at least attempted to qualify for every race who might get a win tonight. And this is Daytona, so you never know.
Yep, you are correct.
Witness Michael McDowell winning the Daytona 500.
Bingo.
All right, so there it is. That's your drama online for tonight. Be prepared. A couple of Cup Series seats got locked down this week. One of them, the first one, was over at Richard Petty Motorsports. They've announced, to their credit, I think that they've done a nice job. And I think that this is the proper move because it gives this team a little bit more time to gel with a very talented driver, Eric Jones. Eric Jones is all of 25 years old. He's already in his 5th year of Cup Series competition. He moved over to Richard Petty Motorsports last year after being let go from Joe Gibbs Racing and their affiliated teams after 8 seasons and all 3 top NASCAR series. Even Tony Stewart kind of laid out his former boss, Joe Gibbs, for his going through, I guess, for lack of a better term, very young talent and spitting them out. I mean, think about the lineup that he has had of drivers over the last, we'll just say 5 years.
At least, yeah. Yeah.
It's a very talented group of young drivers that Joe Gibbs Racing has had in their pipeline.
Yeah.
And he has kind of let a whole bunch of them just scatter around and go wherever.
Pretty much so, but I think it was more of a equal parts of Toyota and Gibbs.
Yeah, probably. I mean, we start off with Tony Stewart's replacement in the number 20 car when he left and formed Stewart Haas Racing was Joey Logano. Joey Logano, everybody called him sliced bread. Why? Because he was supposed to be the next big thing, the next great thing.
Right.
He never really did hold up to it. But you know what? He left. He went over to Penske. Boom. He blossomed.
He did.
Okay. Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez was with Joe Gibbs Racing. He was in that pipeline. Gosh, who all am I trying to think of here? I could probably go on and on, but, the mind boggles when you stop and think about it.
There's one really, really large name looming.
Riley Erbst, for a while, was in the Joe Gibbs Racing pipeline, correct?
He was.
Now he's with Stewart Haas Racing. Feel free to fill in more because I'll be honest with you, I'm blanking on the possibilities.
You can't take the name Carl Edwards out either.
That's true.
You can't take that name out.
I mean, you think about how Carl Edwards got blasted out in favor of Daniel Suarez, who within a couple of years, as we just mentioned, was gone too.
Yeah. And if the scenario had not have happened and Carl Edwards was still at JGR,
he might have a title.
I'm going to say there's no might to it.
Yeah.
he would have a title because he and Dave Rogers were clicking pretty well.
Yeah, I agree.
And poof, he's gone.
So I get it. He's got a very talented group of drivers up at the top level, but he has gone through those drivers at that top level. Eric Jones was in the 20 car. Carl Edwards was in the 19 car. Matt Kenseth for a while was with Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yep.
And all those drivers, poof.
Out of nowhere.
The only driver, I say only driver, the only drivers that seem to have any kind of longevity are Denny Hamlin, who has spent his entire Cup career at Joe Gibbs Racing, and now Kyle Busch because he's got 2 titles.
Yeah. I mean, even though, and I think it's really more with Toyota than it is with Gibbs. Truex has longevity as well.
Yeah, but he hasn't been there that long. I think he can be there as long as he wants.
True.
But he hasn't been there as long as either Hamlin or Kyle Busch have.
True.
Now, back to Eric Jones. Jones, yes, he has not won in 2021, and yes, he sits 24th in standings coming into this weekend's final regular season race. But he has shown flashes of promise with a single car operation. I mean, this is, with all due respect to Richard Petty Motorsports, this is less about Eric Jones and more about Richard Petty Motorsports to me. Am I wrong?
No.
Okay.
You're not wrong.
Eric Jones has 3 top 10 finishes. This includes a season best of 7th, happened recently on the road course at Indianapolis. In his top-level NASCAR career, Jones has 16 wins, 2 in Cup, July of 2018 at Daytona and Darlington in 2019. We were there for that. Both for Gibbs in the number 20 Toyota. Also, he has claimed the 2015 Camping World Truck Series title, driving then for Kyle Busch Motorsports. Jones is the hope that Richard Petty Motorsports thinks that they've got, their best hope to get a win since Eric Almirola won for the team back in July of 2014 at Daytona in the number 43.
He does.
He's got the talent.
Oh, yeah, he does, but he just
I'm not sure he's got the equipment. Not yet.
Keyword yet. We're going to see how much next year equalizes everything.
Well, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. If I'm Richard Petty, and I know he's behind the 8 ball at Chevrolet because he's a single car operation, number 1, and number 2, he's sitting well down the ladder, which at the top of the ladder we know is Hendrick. Second rung is Childress. And after that, everybody's feeding off of what either Hendrick or Childress gives them. But if I'm Chevrolet and I'm Richard Petty, I'm looking at the fact that I'm trying to get the brand that right now has the most wins in Cup Series history, Chevrolet, and the team that may be the most legendary operation in all of NASCAR history. There's a part of me that wants to say arguably, but I'm not really sure that we could argue that.
Yeah.
I get what Hendrick has done. I get what Penske is doing. I get what Gibbs and Stewart-Haas. I get what all these teams and Childress and all these teams are doing and have done.
Right.
But if you think of a team within NASCAR and you know anything about the history of NASCAR, Petty has to come real fast to your mind.
You could say 2 for success-wise. Petty and Wood Brothers.
Sure.
You could say those 2, but I'm in full agreement with you. The first name, same similarities as IndyCar. IndyCar, Andretti. NASCAR, Petty.
Yeah. And here's the thing. You mentioned the Wood Brothers. If we see the 21 or we see the 43 in victory lane, I want to be in the stands or up in the PA tower when that happens, because the roar from the crowd on that day, I don't care who's behind the wheel of either the 21 or the 43. To see the 21 or the 43 back in victory lane, and remember, the next time 21 visits victory lane, that's win number 100 in the organization's history for Wood Brothers. And the 43 is the number of the king.
Yeah.
He's named the king for a reason.
Yeah.
These 2 wins will be among the most popular wins in the history of NASCAR.
I would agree. But
and if I'm Chevrolet, I'm realizing that, and I'm saying we need to help.
Yeah, foot the bill a little bit harder.
We need to help.
Because with Petty being at Chevrolet these past few years, all Chevrolet can do is just help get that, I guess you could say, get that legacy bolstered that much more.
Yeah.
Just like Ford has stayed with Wood Brothers since day one.
And they've actually upped the game with Wood Brothers.
Oh, a lot, for sure. Not just dealing with them being tied in with Penske.
Yeah.
They've upped it a ton.
Yeah.
Yes, I do agree with that. But if you're looking at apples to oranges here, the team that is most closer to a win right now, Wood Brothers, hands down.
Agreed. Wholeheartedly.
Hands down.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
Gaunt Brothers hasn't been on the track much this season, but they have confirmed they will enter 2 races before the end of the 2021 season. One is tonight's race at Daytona. And then when the series comes to our home track at Talladega Superspeedway, they have chosen to put the number 96 Toyota Camry back out onto the track. Carnomaly is the sponsor for both of those races. Feel free to look them up and figure out what it is that they do on your own. The driver is Landon Castle. Now, early this year, Gaunt Brothers put that number 96 out there for 4 races, among them, or several races. Ty Dillon drove 4 of those races earlier this year. Harrison Burton actually made his Cup Series debut driving in the first Talladega race this year. And Landon Castle comes in, hoping to better the team's best finish of 2021. That was Ty Dillon on the Daytona road course, where he finished 19th. These 2 races, by the way, also mark the company's, Carnomaly's, debut as a sponsor in motorsports. I asked you this question before. I understand when it comes to Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton is a rookie in the Cup Series. He will come in full-time next year. We get that. I wasn't expecting a whole lot because you're diving into the deep end from the high dive, and you're expected to swim.
Mm-hmm.
He did as well as he could.
Yeah.
Ty Dillon, on the other hand,
underwhelmed.
So Landon Castle, who to me is one of those drivers that has never really gotten that break that he deserved.
Mm-hmm.
Is he an upgrade or is he a lateral move? What does Ty Dillon do for this that Ty Dillon and or Harrison Burton may or may not have?
Well, considering that the 2 races for sure that they've got left, which we know Marty Gaunt will throw a car in at the blink of an eye.
Sure.
But considering it's Daytona and Talladega, I'm going to say up. Here's why. When you're looking at super speedway racing, arguably, and I will argue with anyone,
sure,
the most underrated super speedway racer in the top 3 series of NASCAR is Landon Castle.
The thing that you got to do at a Daytona or a Talladega, first things first, is keep the fenders on the car.
Mm-hmm.
Landon Castle knows how to take care of a racer.
Mm-hmm. He does. That he does.
He excels at it.
He's, in my eyes, for underrated super speedway racers. He is on par, step for step, with Jamie McMurray.
That's pretty high praise.
He's on step with him.
It's pretty high praise.
Because which I'm not, but if I'm the type of person that sets and plays these fantasy league, who you're going to put in your lineup for this race, who you're going to put in your lineup for that race, who's your starting whatever. If I've got the option to pick Landon Castle, I'm taking Landon Castle every time there's a pick.
Yeah.
Every time.
For those of you that are thinking, how is that pretty high praise to equate him to Jamie McMurray? Do yourself a favor. Go look up Jamie McMurray's history at Daytona and Talladega.
And it shall speak for itself.
That's right. Do that while we take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Stewart Haas Racing. And we'll talk about a former driver from Stewart Haas Racing who has landed himself a new ride. All that and more coming up next right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
When severe weather's at its worst.
Early warnings save lives.
Introducing WVTM 13 Live Doppler.
It sees the storms first.
First, because it's live.
A Central Alabama exclusive.
First, because of its location.
Positioned in the path of oncoming storm.
First, to warn you when danger approaches.
A true right now look at severe weather.
Giving you more time to get to safety. WVTM 13 Live Doppler. Only on today's WVTM 13 News.
This Status Report, a service of the Area Agency on Aging. Many older Alabamians have to choose between buying food, medicine, or other necessities. If you or someone you know struggles to pay for groceries, help may be available. Call the Area Agency on Aging at 1-800-AGE-LINE to find out more.
If you're having problems buying your groceries and you need help, call the Alabama Area Agency on Aging locally at 1-800-243-5463. They'll explain all about SNAP to you. It's a food stamp program for senior citizens.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's DJ Envy. You're putting back a few drinks. A few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride. Nah, you're a good driver. You live nearby. You can make it home okay. What are the odds you'll get pulled over? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? You lose your license, you total your car, or you kill someone. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Play it safe and plan ahead to get a ride. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
So you think you have unlimited data?
Recalculating.
Think again. If you're on a network you can't trust, then your data is limited, and so are you. Get unlimited and save with Total Wireless. Get 4 lines with unlimited data on 5G from the network more Americans depend on, with 100 gigabytes at high speed, then 2G for just $25 a month per line.
You have arrived at your destination.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. Available at authorized dealers. 5G capable device and SIM required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at totalwireless.com.
Fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show. I'm Steve West with Matt Nicholson.
Yep.
Producer John Myers celebrating grandchild. I don't know which one. One of the grandchildren's second birthday this weekend. He's got 3. I can't keep track. I'm glad he can. Happy birthday.
Yep.
All right. Before we get into the Stewart Haas racing stuff, let's talk about that other seat. I wanted to wait until after the break because we wanted to dig into this because there's actually multiple levels to this. So earlier on this year, and I'm talking about within the last month, really, we were blown away by the fact that Chip Ganassi Racing sold his operation.
Turnkey, sight unseen.
Lock, stock, and barrel. I'm talking everything down to the last nut and bolt related to the NASCAR Cup Series operation that Chip Ganassi Racing has. Sold it to Trackhouse. Trackhouse has already said, we're going to field 2 full-time cars next year. One of them will be our incumbent driver, the aforementioned Daniel Suarez. Mm-hmm. Took him a couple of weeks to figure out who they were going to keep. Or were they going to go outside the organization? Because they technically inherit Kurt Busch and Ross Chastain. Mm-hmm. But with only 2 cars, that means sometime the music's going to stop and somebody's left without a seat. Turns out the driver left without a seat, the veteran, Kurt Busch. Ross Chastain will continue at Trackhouse next year. He will slide from the 42 to the number 1. Mm-hmm. Again, that leaves Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch won many, many races at the Cup Series level. Mm-hmm. Has a title. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's in his 40s. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't really seem to be slowing down. Mm-hmm. So we figured he had a pretty good chance of getting a ride. Mm-hmm. And you said it pretty much right after it was announced that Chastain was the guy, and therefore, technically, for 2022, Kurt Busch became a free agent. You said you figured he was going to...
I figured he would end up going to 2311.
Officially, as of yesterday, Friday, that came to fruition.
Yep.
When we talked about this, and you said you thought he was going to go to 2311 Racing, I posed the question of what number would they run, because if you think about it, Bubba Wallace runs the number that Michael Jordan is most well known for, 23.
23.
But Michael Jordan, when he played baseball here in Birmingham and when he first returned to the NBA after playing baseball, he wore a second number, 45.
Yep.
I said, what might the possibilities be of them running the number 45, knowing that the rights technically belong to Petty because of Adam. They showed the car off yesterday. What number did they show?
That number would be 45.
So there you go. Here is the statement, by the way, from Kyle Petty.
I saw it late last night.
on the running of the number 45. The number 45 is a special number to myself and the entire Petty family. We look forward to seeing that number back on the racetrack contending for race wins and championships. Seeing the number compete again under the 2311 Racing banner with Kurt behind the wheel is exciting for us. While the number will always hold many memories of Adam, we know Kurt, Denny, and the entire organization will represent it well. Victory Junction, a place of empowerment and inclusion with kids for chronic and serious medical illnesses envisioned by Adam, are proud to see the 45 car return and where this team will take it on the track. Classy move.
Very classy.
On the part of Kyle Petty and Petty Motorsports.
So, do you want to hear, since we're on this subject?
Sure.
Do you want to hear the absolute biggest, how do I word this? The biggest gaffe the biggest gaffe probably in motorsports media history.
Okay.
And it came through late last night.
I look forward to this.
Let me just go to the search bar and find it, and I'm just going to read it straight up.
Okay.
Here we go. From ESPN.
Hello. Okay.
The headline or the little alert ribbon that would come across on the top of a phone.
Oh, yeah.
An alert.
Sure. News alert.
Kyle Busch will race next season with 2311 Racing, a NASCAR team owned by Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan.
Oops.
Joe Gibbs Racing went on with it and just rolled with it. Whoever does a social media person,
you might as well.
Golden. They put up the little emoji, the GIF with the little kid sitting there in the hockey arena going, "Yes!" Okay. Kyle Busch with his little friend, with his buddy of his, where they were off on vacation, they did one of those emergency press conferences and had fun and rolled with it.
Sure.
Okay. Kyle Busch not only tags 2311 Bubba Wallace and Michael Jordan's Jumpman brand.
I love it.
But he tags in LeBron James.
Oh, excellent.
Denny Hamlin comes back and he went, I can't help but to laugh. But he said, "Unfortunately, Kyle, you've tagged the wrong goat. Therefore, I have no choice," and puts up a GIF of Vince McMahon screaming at Eric Bischoff, "You're fired."
I love it.
There you go.
Okay. Then there's this. They revealed the car.
Yep. Oh.
Is that good?
It's coming. Coming through. Yep.
Okay. For those of you that were looking on our Facebook Live / YouTube, this is the second car. If you're listening during the break, you might have heard us talking about it. This is the second car to be revealed, which features the number moved forward. We've been talking about this. Adam Stern has posted on Sports Business Daily that NASCAR has been considering moving the numbers. And we talked about it from last year during the All-Star race when they moved the numbers back towards the rear wheel well. Well, they decided they didn't like that as much, so they kept it on the door panel for this year. But next year, the number indeed moves forward towards the front wheel well. It sits just behind the front wheel well. The first time I saw it on a Stewart Haas Racing. They debuted a 2022 car with a new paint scheme on the 4 car for Kevin Harvick.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the car looked good, except for the number placement. And I said so on Stewart Haas Racing's official Facebook page. And several people liked it. Then here comes the debut of the Monster Energy number 45 Toyota for 2311 Racing for one Kurt Busch. And again, the car looks good, except for the number placement. I'm not a fan of where they put this number. If you just get a look at the car in and of itself, it just looks wrong.
Hideous.
But the thing about it is this was now the second car that has been revealed for 2022, both of them with the number moved forward, but we didn't hear anything about whether this had been made official until after two cars had already been revealed, and then NASCAR finally comes out with the statement that, oh yeah, by the way, for next year, all the numbers are moving forward to behind the front wheel well.
Oh, we're going to confirm it. This is the number placement. You're going to wait for Denny Hamlin and Toyota to do it? That's weird. Really weird.
I mean, for all the kudos that we just gave to the director of social media for Joe Gibbs Racing, we have to ask, who's the person who dropped the ball in the communications department of NASCAR on this move, which is not a small one, because, again, for decades, we have been used to seeing that number placed right underneath the driver's window. Mm-hmm. It's where we're all familiar with it. It's where we've all grown used to it. And I know their reasoning for it. Now you got this nice big billboard for the major sponsors that are coming in for all of these teams to give them that little extra push to become a primary sponsor. I get that. But at the same point in time, you're changing something that is going to get pushback. And it starts right here with you and I.
Yeah, I'm going to push back on it because here's why. I can't remember who it was, but somebody did a side-by-side layout of Kurt's car this year versus Kurt's car next year.
Right.
Roughly, there's a 6 to 8 inch difference.
At least.
On the sponsor logo.
And keep this in mind as well. Understand what Kurt's running this year versus what he's running next year.
Yeah.
He's running a single-digit number this year. Mm-hmm. Next year, he runs a 2-digit number. If he was still running a single-digit number next year, the difference between the placement of that number this year versus next year would be amplified that much more visually.
For the cars of Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, and I'm reading off the 2022 roster here. For Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, Austin Dillon, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski, Corey LaJoie, Tyler Reddick, and Chase Elliott. That is numerical no order in 1 through 9.
Mm-hmm. And keep in mind that some of these are going to change, but for Brad Keselowski, for example, while he moves, he only goes from the number 2 to the number 6.
2 to 6, yes. I'm probably going to have to take a half a gallon of Dramamine because it's probably going to make me really nauseated looking at this.
It's going to, at the very least, and this is about the nicest thing I can say about this movement. 2 things. Number 1, happy for the primary sponsors because now they get a big billboard. So I'll say that. This is the nicest thing I can say about this movement, though. It's going to take a while to get used to.
That it is.
And that's the nicest thing I can say about it.
That it is.
Because I'm no fan of this. I'm really not.
It's hard for me to put into words because here's why. Oh, you're giving the sponsor more exposure. So the sponsor on the hood is not good enough?
Yeah.
That's considered the primary. And the quarter panels is technically considered the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Technically.
So now it's the door panel.
So now it's the door panel is considered. I don't see any difference from it being where it was versus to where it's going to be.
This to me, and I'm trying to figure out how to put the cherry on top of this not very tasty sundae.
Yeah.
If I'm in the marketing department, and because I'm a Stewart Haas Racing fan, I'll put myself there. I'm no salesperson, so don't call me as a salesperson, Tony. But if I'm in the marketing department of Stewart Haas Racing or fill in the team here, I'm looking at this as an opportunity to have co-primaries.
Mm-hmm.
I can put, I don't know, pick one. I can put, okay, let's use Kevin Harvick. I'm going to give you a hint as to the next upcoming thing. Kevin Harvick has several major primary sponsors that trade throughout the course of the year. One of them is a big change.
Pretty big.
But Busch Light.
Yeah.
Take Busch Light, put them on the hood, and then take his new sandwich shop sponsor, hint, and slap them along the doors. Now,
that color combination.
The color combination could be bad, but again, think about the marketing opportunities, though, of having your hood space and now the door space.
Yeah.
It is potentially another money-making deal, depending on how it is that you sell it. This is a salesperson's opportunity, I guess is the way that I'm saying it.
Yeah. I could see that, yeah.
Because otherwise, as you mentioned, it was the quarter panels, which sizable enough.
You still got, in my opinion, you still got
the quarter
plenty
panels,
of places on the quarter panel.
Sizable enough, but let's face it, now that you got pretty much the entire door panel from behind the number all the way to the rear wheel well, that's bigger.
Yeah.
Hood sponsor, door sponsor, quarter panel sponsor. This is a marketer's dream. It's a paint scheme nightmare, potentially. But this is a salesperson's dream right here.
Yeah, it is, but...
And this is why, truth be told, we get to look at it and go, because we can see both sides. Again, the marketing side of it, because it is. It's as much about the sponsors, the partners within NASCAR that help these drivers and these cars get out onto the track, as it is about the drivers that are inside the car trying to get the win every single week, week in and week out.
Agreed.
Okay, we get that. This could potentially be John handing the crayon or handing a box of crayons to his 2-year-old and saying, here, design a car. And have it come out just about as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I could. Ooh. Yeah. It's sad to think, but you're right.
Again, I don't know who it is that decided that this was the best move that they could make. But I'm not a fan of it. And we're hearing plenty of blowback. I mean, as soon as I put on the Stewart Haas Racing official site that I was not a big fan of the number placement, I immediately got half a dozen likes, and within a couple of days had, 15, 20 easy, and I've lost count since then.
Right.
I have not made that official comment on the Kurt Busch 2311 announcement, but now that NASCAR said it, I can officially say it. I'm no fan of it.
I'm not either. I'm trying to get back to that picture that you pulled up right here on my page.
What was it?
Here it is.
Yeah.
Looking where they have the Monster Energy M. There is probably, from where it sits on the current car to looking at this one, just envisioning it, there's probably no more than an 8-inch difference. 8 inches.
Which doesn't sound like a whole lot. But
doesn't sound like a whole lot. But if you slide it back that 8 inches and put it everything like normal, common sense individuals would, you still can clearly see the words Monster Energy.
Yeah.
You clearly can.
I don't get it. This move, like several moves within the racing world, and NASCAR has been known to do more than their fair share of them, this is one of those moves that just flat out baffles me as to why it was made and who made the ultimate decision to say, yeah, green light this. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation in hour number 2 of CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
WTDR-FM, Talladega, Oxford, Anniston, and streaming live 24/7 at WTDRThunder.com. Alabama's #1 country, Thunder 92.7.
This report is service of the Area Agency on Aging. Many older Alabamians have to choose between buying food, medicine, or other necessities. If you or someone you know struggles to pay for groceries, help may be available. Call the Area Agency on Aging at 1-800-AGE-LINE to find out more.
If you're having problems buying your groceries and you need help, call the Alabama Area Agency on Aging locally at 1-800-243-5463. They'll explain all about SNAP to you. It's a food stamp program for senior citizens.
WVTM 13 is back on Dish. Subscribers, thanks for your patience and welcome back. Welcome back to primetime favorites like The Voice, The Blacklist, and Little Big Shots. Welcome back to the best in daytime with Days of Our Lives, Steve Harvey, and Ellen. Welcome back to today's WVTM 13 news, the latest word in what's happening right now and what's next, plus the all-new storm tracking power of WVTM 13 Live Doppler. Thanks, Dish subscribers, and welcome back to WVTM 13.
Are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? What's the worst that can happen? You end up driving below the speed limit? It's no big deal, right? Wrong.
The truth is your reaction time slows way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Talk about a buzzkill.
Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI.
Paid for by NHTSA.
Hey, it's Angela Yee. Lots of us have a junk sleep problem. It could be from sleeping in a bed that's not right for you. Feel like you can't think straight? That's junk sleep. Leave your laptop on the bus? Blame junk sleep. I used to feel like that all the time. But a while ago, I met with a Mattress Firm sleep expert who matched me to the perfect mattress. And wow, now I sleep amazing. Talk with a sleep expert and unjunk your sleep. Visit mattressfirm.com or a Mattress Firm store today.
4 tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
All right, we teased it just last segment, which was last hour. And if you didn't join us, you missed a lot. Stewart Racing has announced the return of former sponsor of Tony Stewart's, this time sponsoring 2014 Cup Series champion Kevin Harvick.
Mm-hmm.
It's Subway.
Eat fresh.
Subway signed on as a primary sponsor of the 4-car, which seems on surface to be a conflict of interest, don't it? Because you got longtime Kevin Harvick sponsored Jimmy John's there. Well, it ain't really, because Jimmy John's has been, you may not have noticed this, but Stewart Racing did. Jimmy John's has been reducing their sponsorship in recent years, and they're going to be done officially at the end of the year. Call them done now.
Yeah, they're done now because they haven't even been on a primary this year so far.
Yeah. Subway's using Stewart Racing in the 4-car to launch their Eat Fresh Refresh campaign, of which you might have seen some TV commercials that star people like Stephen Curry and Tom Brady. And then there's that other person over there, which is probably the reason why Subway's gone to NASCAR.
Yeah, I'd say that Stewart guy's got an influence in it.
Well, yeah, probably. The other person that we're talking about is United States women's national soccer team star Megan Rapinoe. And her signing to be a spokesperson to Subway, let's just say, did not necessarily float all that well in the heartland of the United States, which is, well, it's NASCAR country. So they went back to Tony Stewart, who, with Subway, in his final year driving the number 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing, claimed to win at Talladega in 2008, his final win before he left Joe Gibbs Racing to form Stewart Racing. The first time that Subway is going to be on the hood of the 4 will be at the Bristol night race September the 18th. When they're not a primary, they will be an associate sponsor.
I shall have a good, clear photo with that one.
I remember the 2008 Talladega race.
Oh, I remember it very well.
Because I, for the very first time ever, had the chance to be live at the track. I was in the PA tower. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. for that win. And Regan Smith remembers it well, too, because he still contends that he won that race.
He does.
Officially, he didn't, but Regan Smith contends that he did. And I actually have the diecast collectible of said win car. So it'll be interesting to see this and see how well they do and see whether or not suddenly Tony Stewart starts showing up in ads with Steph Curry and Tom Brady.
Yeah, I want to see how fast they rewrap the hauler.
I'm thinking pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
I'm thinking like already done.
Probably so. Here's my letter for the day. Dear Stuart Haas.
Yeah.
Please don't do a combination scheme of Busch Light and Subway. That's all.
Yeah, that could clash. 2020 Cup Series champion Chase Elliott's documentary has officially debuted on the NBC streaming service Peacock. It did it earlier this week. This, if you have forgotten, we talking about it a couple of weeks ago. Dale Earnhardt Jr. goes down to Dawsonville, Georgia, and kind of digs into the life and times of the reigning champion / most popular driver, with Jr. pointedly asking in the documentary to the viewer, breaking that notable fourth wall that we all remember so well being broken in the movies Deadpool and Deadpool 2. Who is this guy? He proceeds to try to answer that very question. I don't have Peacock. So.
I watched this week.
And it's
good.
Very good.
It's a very good documentary.
And I got to give Dale Jr. a lot of credit. His Dirty Mo Productions that he does, where he does not only the Dale Jr. Download podcast, but the TV version, which shows up occasionally on NBC Sports Network. Lost Speedways, which is a Peacock production, which occasionally they'll air on NBC Sports Network until it dies. Mm-hmm. Very, very well done. So it doesn't surprise me that this particular documentary would be that well done.
Yeah, it's done quite well.
All right.
Quite well. That's it, without going into extreme detail for people that have not seen it and still want to see it. It's done very well.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. Then there's this sobering note, and this is very sobering. Cup Series director, NASCAR employee Jay Fabian has stepped away from those duties because he's facing charges of animal cruelty. The position will not be filled immediately, and several people will actually cover Fabian's job duties. NASCAR released a statement that read in part, quote, NASCAR takes the situation seriously, will continue to gather information as it becomes available. Jay Fabian will step back from his role until this matter is resolved. NASCAR will have no further comment. Now, Fabian hasn't been on the job very long. He actually only joined NASCAR in April of 2016 and didn't get this job until 2019 when he took over for Richard Buck. Question is, does he survive this?
Nope.
I don't think he does either.
Because the little Twitter minions and social media will keep him from being able to clear himself up.
This is Michael Vick syndrome, part 2.
Yeah.
And worse, because social media has become that much more prevalent since the Michael Vick situation happened.
Agreed.
To the Xfinity Series, when it comes to ownership in NASCAR, things are starting to get pretty interesting, especially on the celebrity front. Now, first off, probably most notably, Joe Gibbs moved from football coaching, where he's a Hall of Famer, to racing, where he is a Hall of Famer. Brad Daugherty then goes from NBA player to part owner. Pitbull comes in as part owner of Trackhouse Racing. Denny Hamlin convinces Michael Jordan to start 2311 Racing. You ready for the next one? NFL's career rushing leader Emmitt Smith.
Not all that terribly a surprise to me.
Not really, if you dig into it. But Emmitt Smith, a Pro Football Hall of Famer himself, has now joined with U.S. Navy Reserve Lieutenant Commander Jesse Iwuji to form Jesse Iwuji Motorsports. Iwuji himself will be owner-driver. Emmitt Smith was interviewed during the Xfinity Series telecast on the NBC Sports Network Saturday and said this, quote, "It was mainly because of my relationship with Jesse. I do follow what Jordan and the other guys do, but usually when I get into something, it's because of a relationship. All people are looking for is an opportunity." Now, we've talked about Iwuji for the past couple of years. He's been a part-time Xfinity Series driver since 2018. Oh, he hails from Dallas, Texas. There's your connection. Almost all of Smith's career in the NFL was based in Dallas. The team is set to field Chevrolet Camaros with the number 99 on the roof and sides. Initial sponsorship from a company called Notable Live, sponsored Woogie when he drove for BJ McLeod Motorsports at Texas Motor Speedway late last year. One would assume, with Smith coming on and his sponsorship ties, that this should help gain more partners for the race operation. It's an assumption. It's no guarantee. But we made the same assumption with Michael Jordan, and we've seen some of those come to fruition. Not all of them, but some of them.
Here's a major difference. One major difference here.
Yeah, Michael Jordan comes in with Denny Hamlin and gets his stuff from Joe Gibbs Racing.
Ding. 1. 2, if they're running the number 99, he's probably got some form of an alliance with BJ McLeod.
Yeah, and with all due respect to BJ McLeod Motorsports, it's not like we're talking about them on a regular basis at the front of the field.
Gibbs, McLeod. That's all I can say. I mean,
we'll see. Time will tell. I'm hopeful for these two because I haven't met Jesse Iwuji, but I've seen him. I've seen him in interviews. I've seen him on television. I've heard him on the radio. He seems to be a class guy. And same for Emmett Smith. I've never had the pleasure of meeting him, but he seems like a class guy. I know they want to do this right.
Sure.
BJ McLeod Motorsports affiliation may not be the way to do it. Just saying.
Unless they're getting the rights of the number 99 from him, and they're doing their own thing. Or
maybe getting their stuff from Childress?
I don't know. It's hard to say, but I'll say this. And yes, I'm saying it. If I'm Emmett Smith wanting to start a team, I'm starting with somebody else. Iwuji's a little bit too green for me.
I think it's his friendship that probably clouded his way of looking at it.
Probably. That's not taken away from the way Iwuji carries himself, whether it's radio, television, sponsorship talking, whatever.
Or military.
Or military stuff. That's not taken away from anything with that, but taking away from when you cinch the helmet down, lock the 5-point harness down, clip the steering wheel on, and hit the switch.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The thing that I remember so well, and I want to say they called it Hall of Fame racing, when Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman came together and they fielded the number 96 Cup Series car. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, it's Staubach and Aikman. They're Hall of Famers. They're winners. One would think that they could do it pretty well. And they had, what was it, Panasonic? They had some big name.
That was a DLP.
DLP, that's what it was. I knew they had some big
Instruments DLP.
Yeah, I knew they had some big tech thing that they were doing. And it was a good-looking car.
It was.
And the number 96 came from the fact that Roger Staubach wore the number 12, and here comes Troy Aikman's number 8, 12 times 8, 96.
Yep.
It all really seemed to fall together. But instead, it fell apart because they didn't have a good enough car. They didn't technically have really a good enough driver to overcome the car that wasn't good enough. And it failed. It failed pretty quick.
Because they started with, of all people, Tony Raines.
Yeah. Right people in the right place makes all the difference.
Makes a huge difference.
Okay. Joe Gibbs Racing knew how to set up a team. Football, racing, same idea, set up the team. We've talked about Brad Daugherty, and JTG Daugherty has had limited success.
Yeah.
As you can tell, it's Brad's love of racing that's really driving him to be that part owner of that operation. Pitbull coming into Trackhouse Racing, he saw, number one, a marketing opportunity. Number two, he saw the ownership group of Trackhouse Racing and said, these guys are serious. And then Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan teaming up with Joe Gibbs Racing to put cars out on the track. You know, even knowing the fact that 2311 Racing is going to have the growing pains of a first-year operation, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Emmett Smith, Jesse Iwuji's one of those things where we're left kind of scratching our heads with question marks dangling above.
Yeah, I mean, and
I hope they do well. I fear that they won't.
yeah, and then with Hamlin dropping $4 million buying 15 acres for the new shop in Huntersville.
Yeah.
He's
serious.
He's very, very serious.
Some quick sponsor news for the remainder of the year for one Myatt Snyder. He's going to get Crossley Furniture as a primary sponsor for the number 2 Camaro for the 4 more races of this regular season. Daytona, which started last night and then will continue later today. If you missed out on the first hour, 20 laps in, Mother Nature said, I'd rather race than let you race. So 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Central Time is when they're scheduled to get things back rolling. Then Darlington, which we were going to try to go to, but it appears like we're not. Bristol, and then Texas. Brett Moffitt, meanwhile, has freight auctions on board for Daytona and 3 more races throughout the rest of the season. Darlington, Richmond, and Bristol, as he's trying to get that Xfinity Series playoff spot as well. We'll have to see whether that happens or not.
He'll be close.
He's fighting for it.
Oh, yeah.
And then some sad news out of the Xfinity Series ranks. Word that former team owner Randy Herzog has passed away. The team began operations in off-road racing as Herzog Motorsports, Herzog combining with relatives Bill and Stan. And as time went on, he introduced several well-known sponsors to the sport. Altel, which has been there for a long time, Excedrin, Monster.com, Garmin, among others. In 2000, Herzog decided to expand his racing format and took the team Busch Series, now Xfinity Series Racing, and brought in a new investor. You might have heard of him. Major League Baseball Hall of Famer by the name of Reggie Jackson gave the team their well-known name, Herzog Jackson Motorsports. Among the drivers that raced for him, Todd Bodine, Jeff Green, and for the most of their 3 years, a guy by the name of Jimmy Johnson. Over their 3 years in the now Xfinity Series, they would win 3 series races but claim no titles. Herzog officially began his race operations as an off-road racing operation again. He claimed the 1998 Soda Pro 2 title with driver Ricky Johnson. With Jackson as a co-owner, again, Herzog Jackson Motorsports entered the Busch Series competition with Jimmy Johnson, who with Altel as a sponsor was 3rd in Rookie of the Year running and 10th in final points in 2000. Johnson then gave the team their first win at Chicagoland in 2001, and that led Herzog to begin planning to go Cup Series racing with Johnson as his driver, but then he found out that Hendrick Motorsports had already signed Johnson away as their Cup Series driver beginning in 2002, so that hurt. Herzog then brought in Todd Bodine, who got the organization's 2nd win in Kentucky, and then got them their 3rd in 2003 at Darlington, but despite Jackson's presence, sponsors were hard to find. Bodine was released, and the team finished as a part-time organization, running Kansas and Homestead at the end of 2003 with Jeff Green as the driver before they folded. At this time, the reason for his passing is unknown. William Randall Randy Herzog was 77 years old. We thank him for his contributions. One more note within NASCAR before we take a break. A driver who's been splitting his time between the ARCA Menard Series and the Camping World Truck Series learned this week he is moving next year officially to be full-time in the Truck Series, and that is Jack Wood. The California native, all of 21, was told by GMS Racing he will go Truck Series racing next year, and he said, quote, "I would like to thank everyone at GMS Racing and Chevrolet for believing in me and giving me the opportunity to chase my dream. Hope to finish the rest of this year out strong and then take the offseason preparing to hit the ground running in 2022. As for this year, he has best finishes of 10th in the Camping World Truck Series. That was actually last weekend at Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway. And he's got a 4th place finish in the ARCA Menard Series. That was back in May at the first race at Kansas. Next year he'll be in the number 24 Chevy Silverado for GMS Racing. Promising young kid?
He's got promise, but
maybe not everything that you were hoping for out of a full-time?
I don't know if it's better than Rafael Lassart promise.
And with that, we'll take a break and come right back here on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
We saved big money with our Progressive Home and Auto Bundle and used the cash to take a family vacation.
To Hawaii.
Who's up for a luau?
Yay!
This is not a real testimonial. Sure, customers can save big money with Progressive, but not enough to go to Hawaii. They'll probably use it for things like the mortgage and groceries, or even a travel magazine, so at least they can see pictures of Hawaii.
Aloha!
Yes, say hello to those beautiful Hawaiian beaches. in that magazine. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
This report, a service of the Area Agency on Aging. Many older Alabamians have to choose between buying food, medicine, or other necessities. If you or someone you know struggles to pay for groceries, help may be available. Call the Area Agency on Aging at 1-800-AGE-LINE to find out more.
If you're having problems buying your groceries and you need help, call the Alabama Area Agency on Aging locally at 1-800-243-5463. They'll explain all about SNAP to you. It's a food stamp program for senior citizens.
Fall is just around the corner. Lowe's has what you need to change with the season. Like our new lower prices on select bagged mulch starting at $2.88 per bag. And American Gourmet 3-burner gas grills was $149, now $129. Fall together with Lowe's this Labor Day, in-store and online. Lowe's, home to any budget, home to any possibility. While supplies last, selection and product availability varies by location. Valid 8/19 through 9/8, U.S. only. Mulch offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? So you've got an oil change coming up? We can help you get started. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Castrol GTX and an STP oil filter, plus an STP air filter or cabin air filter for just $34.99. And you can get it all fast, your way. Just order online with a free same-day store pickup or next-day delivery. Start your job today at AutoZone.com. Restrictions apply.
2 tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Still plenty to get to. Formula One and IndyCar on deck. Right now, let's talk about the NHRA, and I want to go back to Brainerd. Because something happened there that hasn't been seen in over a decade, and it involves one Brittany Force, daughter of the legend John Force. Seems that Force was the number 1 qualifier for last weekend's event, making 5 events in a row where she was the number 1 qualifier. Last time that happened in the Top Fuel division, 5 straight events. Number 1, Larry Dixon pulled off that feat in 2009. Force won the race at Topeka, the only win of the 5. Dixon won 3 of the 5 that he qualified number 1 in. Sorry, Brittany. Originally not slated to run in the countdown to the championship event at ZMAX Dragway in Charlotte, North Carolina, the Pro Stock Car division has now officially been added to the division lineup there. But since they're running Charlotte to keep the number of events that they run this year the same, you will not see the Pro Stock Car division at the Thunder Valley Nationals in Bristol, Tennessee.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Apparently, this has something to do with a little bit of sponsorship, number 1, and number 2, they're looking, and this is, I don't think to me, because I haven't seen the place up close and official, but to me, it has a little bit to do with the facility at Charlotte, which is considered, if not a crown jewel race, it is certainly considered one of the crown jewels of facilities within the NHRA. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking between that and the DeWalt sponsorship kind of pressing things along,
probably
Pro Stock Car slid a little bit east from Bristol to Charlotte.
Probably so.
Over to IndyCar, where Will Power claimed the pole at Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway for last Saturday night. Normally we wouldn't talk about this, but it is very notable in that it gives Will Power his 63rd pole position of his long and storied career, and that puts him only 4 behind the all-time IndyCar pole position record held by the legend Mario Andretti, who has 67. But Will Power is slowing down a little bit. This was his first pole of 2021, so he's going to have to find something to be able to get past that point. And here's the other side of it.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily guaranteed to be back in this car next year.
And that's a crazy thing to even think.
Mm-hmm. It is, considering he's got to win, he's got a pole this year, and he right now is not locked into that car for 2022. Mm-hmm. We mentioned a few weeks ago that Robert Miller had told readers of his column on Racer.com and his other avenues that he was stepping back from riding for a while, and he was moving to Arizona to be with his family after he had a cancer diagnosis that was, to be kind, not positive. Native of Southport, Indiana, Miller began his rise to national recognition for his riding and knowledge of American open-wheel racing at the Indianapolis Star. Robin Miller passed away just this week. Thing about it is this guy has been in motorsports all of his professional life.
50 plus years.
He started at the Indianapolis Star in 1968, and soon his writing grabbed the attention of national publications. He worked his way over into the sports department upon being hired. And he ended up writing for things like Auto Week, Car and Driver, Sports Illustrated, and others for many years. He actually also hosted a show on Indianapolis radio stations. He would tell stories of the past in the sport and have breaking news. His love of the track had actually begun 11 years before he began his reporting in 1957 when he and his father went and toured Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but he actually hadn't gone to a race for another 2 years when he took in the Indy 500 in 1959. As mentioned, 1968, before he started reporting at the Indianapolis Star, he had worked his way into being a pit board holder for driver Jim Herzog. That may not be a name that you recognize. Pretty low budget operation. And here's the thing, being the pit board holder lasted for all of one race, and for all of his other duties, that was pretty short-lived as well, because at some point in time during the course of the year, he ruined the paint job on the race car, and he was shown the door. So he turned to the newspaper. He got hired, and as we mentioned, talked his way into the sports department, where he became the first reporter for the fledgling American Basketball Association, soon to be NBA franchise, the Indiana Pacers. But his love was racing, and while still reporting for the Star, he bought a Formula Ford from no less than Andy Granatelli. Ran a couple of years, then turned to a midget racer that he had bought from Gary Bettenhausen, also not a slouch, and ran USAC for over a decade, but more importantly, he was making connections. Mm-hmm. Drivers that called Miller close friend. This is a who's who of IndyCar greats if you think about it. Mm-hmm. Tom Sneva, A.J. Foyt, Parnelli Jones, Dan Gurney, Al and Bobby Unser, among many others. And that goes up to and includes today's drivers, people like Tony Kanaan and current part-time team owner in Indy, or part team owner, I should say, David Letterman. But Robin Miller,
huge list.
Yes, Robin Miller would also poke fun at the series. He annually hosted the Last Row Party, which was really nothing more than a Dean Martin celebrity row-style get-together, kids ask your grandparents, that made fun of Indy 500's 3 slowest qualifiers each and every year. Despite his already declining health, he covered the 2019 Indy 500 for the final time, stepped away from reporting, and as we noted a few weeks ago, moved close to family in Arizona. He never married. He's a lifelong bachelor. The family that he leaves behind is a sister, Diane, and 2 nieces, Emily and Ashley. Robin Miller was 71 years old. Robin Miller is one of those guys, kind of like Bob Jenkins.
Agreed.
That anybody who is in the motorsports reporting world, whether you're talking us, who have a relatively fledgling motorsports show that has been going on now for 6-7 years, to the people that are on MRN or PRN or the Indianapolis Racing Network, whatever.
Yep.
These are the people that we strive to be like.
Yep. Agreed.
Bob Jenkins was a class act from the get-go. Just showed, he oozed his love of all things motorsports. And you could tell it every time he was on the air. And it didn't matter whether he was doing a race news show or whether he was broadcasting the race. Robin Miller is the exact same way. But Robin Miller had an edge to him. He had a very, very sharp knife's edge that he was not afraid to use.
And he used it quite often.
He went on a rant one time on... what was it? Speed Weeks, I think.
Yes.
And he just started listing things that he hated. Among them, Michael Waltrip's antics and 10-lap cautions for towing, which you and I have been more than vocal about. I mean, truth be told, how long does it really take you to get a car off the track, clean it up, and get back to green? 10 laps? I don't think so. Robin Miller was the first person to have the guts to go on the air and voice it. And the thing about it is it actually garnered him more respect within the racing world. Some people might get blackballed for that. It garnered him more respect.
Absolutely. Absolutely did.
You and I have said this on many occasions. Yes, we work for NASCAR.
Yep.
But at the same point in time, I'm not wearing a NASCAR employee hat when I'm here doing this show.
Same here.
I'm doing a reporter's job.
Yep.
When we talked about the movement of the numbers last hour, I'm not holding back when I tell you I don't like the movement. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to live with it until there is enough stink raised to where they move it back, or to the point where we end up having to get used to it because it's not going to change. I don't know which one it is. Yeah. I'm hoping that there is enough stink raised to where the numbers move back, personally.
This is going to be, I could see the number deal being this type scenario. How long was it? How long did, and I'm going to use the old Southern slang term, how long did people pitch a fit about the wing on the COT?
Until they changed it.
Then they changed it.
Yeah.
Back to the spoiler.
It's going to take that.
I think that is coming.
Yeah. It's going to take that. Once this gets out there in full, and maybe tonight during the pre-race show for Daytona, it might actually go out on national television. Because while we potentially can reach an audience of the nation, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have the reach that the NBC network does. We know we don't.
Right.
Put it out on NBC during the pre-race show, which probably they will, because that's big news of the week. And they show that car and they start talking about that number, they're going to have to talk about that number.
Oh, yeah, they're going to have to.
Because as soon as they show that car, that's a glaring difference between what he's driving this year and what he will be driving next year.
Yep.
It's not just the fact that he's shifting from the number 1 to the number 45. It's not just that he's shifting from a 1 to a 45 and a Chevrolet to a Toyota. He's shifting from a 1 to a 45, from a Chevy to a Toyota, and that number gets shoved forward all the way up to the front wheel well. They will have to talk about it. And when they do, and the NASCAR world fandom sees it, that's when the reactions are really going to start to snowball and come down the hill.
There's one really, really, really sizable key piece in this difference in my comparison from the 2008 COT wing saga versus 2022 number saga. Social media.
Yes. It's a huge difference. Social media was still very, very fledgling at that point in time.
Social media will blow this up, and then they're
NASCAR
just going to say,
NASCAR will hear about it in spades. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
But that's the kind of guy, to go back to it, Robin Miller. I can only imagine what Robin Miller might have said about this. I can only imagine. Because if he didn't like it, he would have spent a while, and we've spent a while. He would have spent a while talking about it. I'm not trying to be the next Robin Miller. I'm trying to be the first Steve West.
Right.
Okay? And Matt Nicholson's not trying to be me or John Myers or anybody. He's trying to be the first him. But at the same point in time, there are people who I would like to emulate. In other words, have the willingness to call out the things that I think are wrong or I think are bad or I think just make the sport, whatever series it is, not look good. And this is one of those things. And Robin Miller would call it out. And that's the kind of person I want to be on this show, wherever it takes us. And hopefully that's why you listen.
Yep. We'd hope so, for sure.
Turning our attention to Formula One here, earlier this week, Formula One officials introduced a new award, one that they're hoping is going to give a driver who makes the most passes over the course of a season get some more recognition and maybe try and make the drivers make more passes. They're calling it the Crypto.com Overtake Award. Of course, it's sponsored. Series officials are hoping that this, again, will not only celebrate passing, but encourage the drivers to try and take more chances to make more passes. The winner, at least, will get a trophy For the fans watching on television, new broadcasting graphics are going to be used to alert the viewer for passing possibilities. And reportedly, the telecast will keep fans updated on the standings for the award. Since it will be instituted for this year, they went back and they figured out who the current leader is. As we come out of the summer break, it is Sebastian Vettel. This also, by the way, enforces the partnership that Crypto.com and Formula One have, which, well, it began only last month.
Well, Q1 is underway.
Okay. Remember, they're in Belgium, Spa-Francorchamps, which, by the way...
It's raining hard.
It's raining, number one, and number two, yesterday, several cars didn't survive.
In the W Series.
Yeah, well, yeah, but did not survive.
Yeah.
This is the possibilities for this weekend. Just
yeah. I was gonna read it straight from the F1 thing, but let me go to the F1 Twitter site because I know they put the graphics out for Q1 classifications.
Okay.
From 20 to 1. You ready for your head to explode?
Sure. I'm all about it.
20th. Nikita Mazepin.
Not a surprise.
19th. Kimi Räikkönen. 18th. Mick Schumacher.
Okay. That's 3 of the Ferrari engines.
17th. Yuki Tsunoda.
That's a bit surprising. He has been really good this year up to this point.
16th. Antonio Giovinazzi.
That's 4 Ferrari engines right there.
Here's 15 to 11.
These guys make it to Q2.
Esteban Ocon.
Okay.
Fernando Alonso.
We're going to talk about him here in just a second.
Lance Stroll.
Wow.
12th, Daniel Ricciardo. 11th, Carlos Sainz.
Wow.
10th, Nicholas Latifi.
And he is generally considered to be the less, shall I say, talented of the two Williams drivers?
9th,
wow.
Charles Leclerc.
Ferrari is not having a good time.
8th, Pierre Gasly.
Wow.
7th, Sebastian Vettel.
Okay.
6th.
Still waiting for that other Williams driver.
Valtteri Bottas.
Still waiting for that other Williams driver.
5th, George Russell.
Wow.
I was peeking at it through the time up until the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
He led Q1.
Wow. Okay. 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st?
4th, Perez. Hamilton 3rd. Verstappen 2nd.
Verstappen 2nd.
Lando Norris, P1.
Wow.
Right now.
Let's get back to Fernando Alonso, where Alpine, formerly Renault, and Fernando Alonso have come to terms on a contract extension, keeping the two-time F1 champion with them through at least 2022. Alonso turned 40 last month. Remember, he left Formula One back in 2018 after 4, let's say, contentious at best years at McLaren. Spent that time racing in other series, including Indycar. He attempted to race in 2 Indy 500s. He made one. He missed the other. After a slow start to the 2021 season, Alonso has gone on a points scoring streak that is now 6 races and counting coming into this weekend. Best finish of 4th at the most recent race, which was the Hungarian Grand Prix. Team boss Laurent Rossi noted Alonso's professionalism and his work ethic and his willingness to be a team player, defending against, specifically, drivers like 7-time title winner Lewis Hamilton back in Hungary, to the point where it allowed Esteban Ocon, his Alpine teammate, to claim the win. As to his aspirations, and hopefully not only to run but win the Indy 500, Alonso noted that his contract with Alpine forbids him from attempting it while racing for the team. But he said, quote, "Right now, my main focus is here. My full dedication is to the F1 project, especially the new rules," read coming up next year in 2022. "And all the work we have done, we have to do for next year. For the future, I will see. As it is, he remains only the Indy 500 shy of racing's Triple Crown, of which only one driver, Graham Hill, has ever won it. That Triple Crown is the Indy 500, the Monaco Grand Prix, and the 24 Hours of Le Mans." He's 40 now. He'll be 41 this point in time next year. when, again, he is still prohibited from running the Indy 500. So the soonest now he could run the Indy 500 would be 2023, when he's ready to, if not already, have turned 42. Mm-hmm. It's not out of the realm of possibility he could win it. See Elio Castroneves from earlier on this year. Age is not really the factor. The car is the factor. Who might give him that ride that might be capable enough? I mean, Team Penske didn't. Andretti Autosport didn't.
Andretti did the first year. McLaren did year 2.
It was a combo, though.
Combo did, yeah, true.
I'm wondering where he's going to get the ride that could park him in victory lane, and I'm not sure I know where that's coming from.
If it's not Andretti or Penske, or now that the resources are freed up, even Ganassi?
Yeah. I mean, Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing keeps talking about making a bigger splash and go into a third car.
Ed Carpenter.
They could do a fourth car.
Ed Carpenter.
Ed Carpenter Racing?
That would be the closest one, I would say.
Because it's not really Dale Coyne. I don't mean any disrespect to Dale Coyne. He's stepped up his game, but it's not that good yet.
It's climbing, but yes, it's not
that good yet.
Not good yet.
Meyer Shank Racing's way too young. Top Gun Racing, let's face it, they have barely even qualified for a race, much less can contend for a win.
Yeah.
There ain't much.
Yeah, Carpenter. That's going to be it.
So time and finding a car are two things that are not in Fernando Alonso's favor in trying to claim this Triple Crown.
Right.
We'll find out. Meantime, Aston Martin, they've had their growing pains. We'll talk about that when we come back as we get ready to wrap up CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
Have you been thinking about buying a camper? Well, you need to come to Campers Unlimited on Highway 77 and I-59 in Gadsden. Locally owned and operated. You'll find there's no hidden fees, a great selection of the best-selling brands including Grand Design, Rockwood, Primetime, Columbus, East to West, Cherokee, and...
Okay, so if you're like me and still doing your back-to-school shopping, one word, Kohl's. Right now, they have the best deals on the brands my kids love. I got my son Converse sneakers for $60, 25% off Vans tees for my daughter, and 25% off Nike gear for both of them. Oh, but the best part? I got an extra 20% off and Kohl's Cash, too. So I may just have to go back and get a little something for myself. Select styles. Vans, Converse, and Nike coupons do not apply. 20% offer ends August 29th. Some exclusions apply. See storecohls.com for details.
At Boost Mobile, we're giving you a free phone when you switch, and all the power that comes with it. The power to access everything humanity has to offer. The power to connect with anyone in the world. The power to order tacos. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A32 5G when you switch to America's largest 5G network. Information, communication, tacos. Now that's power. More power to save. Boost Mobile. Free phone limited to new customers and one per line. Additional restrictions apply. See boostmobile.com for details.
Fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, we are back. Final segment of this weekend show here as Daytona, well, a twofer looms for... Well, hey, we've done this. We did it at Talladega, and we did it without lights.
Yeah, quite a few times.
So they get to do that at Daytona later on today. And, of course, tomorrow, Formula One in action in Belgium. But just before that happened, Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff and Aston Martin team and car company owner, CEO Lawrence Stroll, they've both been cleared of insider trading allegations regarding Stroll buying into the company and Wolff doing so as well. Stroll bought enough shares of the company to become the majority owner, and he has about a third, I think, of the stock, and he effectively inserted himself as CEO. Wolff bought in at about the same time that Stroll did. Initial allegations came from a Canadian newspaper that led to a full investigation by a company called the Financial Times. They followed up by saying that the regulators that looked into Wolff's purchase have dropped the issue and effectively have cleared Stroll of any wrongdoing as well. Congratulations.
Yep. Congrats on that for sure.
Now, that being said, if you want to get cleared to make sure that your home, your property, that high investment of yours is on solid foundation, you need to call our good friend at Ox Foundations. That's Michael Hart.
Yep.
Call him at 205-362-0000. 6419, or set up an appointment by email, mike@oxfoundations.com. He'll come out, he'll take a look at your house. He'll make sure that everything inside and out is the way that it should be. And if there's no problem with your foundation and there's no problem with your house, he'll have it in written form. No problem here. Sign off on it, hand it to you, shake your hand, bump your fist, wave at you, whatever. He'll go on his merry way. But at no cost and at no obligation to you, he will do the same thing. And if there is a problem, he'll have it written up and he will estimate how much it will cost to fix it. And he will hand it to you. And you'll know in detail what's wrong and what it's going to take to fix it. And here's the benefit to you with Ox Foundation Solutions. You mentioned you heard about it right here on CRN, and you mentioned the promo code WEST. Whatever that total was, automatically 15% off on the repair. And with Hurricane Ida looming and all the rain that will fall in the north part of Alabama, that's important.
Absolutely.
So anywhere in the state of Alabama that you are, get that foundation checked. Set up the appointment now. Email him, mike@oxfoundations.com, or call him 205-362-6419. Get the appointment. Find out for sure. Want to make sure that that house, more than likely the biggest investment you're ever going to make in your life, your home, is on solid foundation and everything's good with it. Tell them you heard about it right here on CRN.
Yep.
To the racing world. Austin Mayor Steve Adler said that he expects to get clearance, despite the Delta variant of COVID-19 apparently on the rise, to greenlight the U.S. Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas, which is just outside of Austin. Adler recently talked to Speed City Broadcasting, said this, quote, the Austin Public Health Authority is working with modelers at the University of Texas. If that changes, we'll certainly know. But I know that the priority is to figure out how to run big events like this in a way that is safe. We already know how to do that. We've been doing it. Adler said that he's hoping to have the okay to run the race as scheduled within days. He said also, noting that the Japanese Grand Prix was recently canceled and that Formula One would like to replace that race to keep the number of races the same, that he'd be open to holding a second race at Circuit of the Americas to fill the gap. There's some juggling of the schedule that would need to be done, considering the travel to the UK, where 7 of the 10 teams are based from Turkey. It's highly restricted, which could cause big problems for the teams. But we do know this. You just found out, breaking news from not that long ago, that Formula One has already juggled the schedule just a little bit.
They have juggled it, and I'll read this off straight from the F1.com, and then I'll give my thoughts on Mr. Adler's quote here. The new schedule will see 22 races held, a record-breaking number of races in one season, with a number of existing events shifting to new dates. The Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort, the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, and the Russian race at Sochi will all take place on their original dates.
But
following these races, the Turkish Grand Prix, originally slated for October the 3rd, will now move back 1 week to October 10.
And this kind of fills that gap where Japan had been.
Right.
So this tells me they're not going to add a race.
That will be followed by the United States Grand Prix, which will stay on its original date of October 24th.
Okay.
Before the Mexico City and Brazilian Grand Prix, which are both shifting back by 1 week from October 31st to November 7th, and from November 7th to November 14th, respectively. There will be another event on November 21 at a circuit yet to be announced before the season finishes, with the first ever Saudi Arabian Grand Prix at Jeddah on December 5 and the season finale at Abu Dhabi on December 12.
Strap in, Formula One drivers. It's about to be a busy second half of your season.
Yeah.
That's what that tells me.
So November 12 through 14, you've got Sao Paulo. Your open date, November 19th through 21st.
That's set to be filled by a track to be determined.
That's a 5-day gap worth of travel. And you're going back towards the Middle East.
I'm thinking there's a stopover somewhere in Western Europe.
I was thinking along the lines of maybe Spain.
Portugal,
Portimao. Heck, let's go to Valencia.
Could happen.
Let's make another stop at Mugello.
That's true. Could be Italy. Germany hasn't said anything about stepping up, but I guess Hockenheim is not totally out of the question. I think probably it is. I would go in order of probability. Italy and Portugal. But it's close. It's real close.
Fuel the 747-8s up, boys.
Better be ready because
road
it's
trip.
coming. It's coming.
Mr. Adler, do you actually think that Governor Greg Abbott is going to have a city stop something when he's clearly said my state is open for business and will remain open for business?
Yeah. And when this thing could potentially be the tax revenue boon that he wants it to be and will be.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then, it seems to me that a lot of people are just basically got the motive of we got to learn to live with it and be done with it.
We're going to have to.
You're going to have to.
Because here's the thing, boys and girls. This is a virus.
It's just like the flu. It's not going anywhere.
It ain't going anywhere anytime soon. We have to have some personal responsibility on our own. If you choose to get the vaccine, good on you. If you choose not to get the vaccine, good on you. I'm not telling you what you need to do. What I am saying is that to 325 to 330 million people here in the United States of America, much less the 7 to 8 billion people that are around the world, we got to learn to live with this. And we better figure out how and take some personal responsibility to do it. That's it. Next year, 2022, Miami Grand Prix. The race promoter has made a notable hire this week. He's brought in the former CEO of Abu Dhabi and the Russian Grand Prix as the new CEO of the Miami Grand Prix. He had an eye towards bringing in somebody that had experience to ensure, as much as possible, that this race gets as much of a successful start as possible. The man is Irish native Richard Kriegen. He got his start in Formula One as a member of the Toyota Team Europe, first as a mechanic and then moved into team management. He would continue to work even as Toyota pulled out of Formula One, but continued on in endurance racing and then began working with Bernie Ecclestone in 2008 as he became a consultant for race promoters and track operators. His first big project was getting the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix up and running before he moved to that same duty within the Russian Grand Prix. Both of them seemed quite successful. He had been behind a second Formula One race here in the United States, but he was championing Las Vegas before he finally got behind Miami's bid. Much of Kriegen's team also helped him launch that Abu Dhabi race, among others. Be interesting to see whether this actually floats. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, I actually did see this preview. It's very good. Netflix dropped the first and likely only trailer for the upcoming documentary Schumacher. It's all about seven-time F1 champion Michael Schumacher. The trailer came down on Wednesday. While the documentary won't be available in full until September the 15th, it will have and did have the full support of the Schumacher family. It's film that not only shows Schumacher's racing prowess, but is set to give the viewer of the documentary, and I'll be one of them, who may have had somewhat of a cold impression of a man who was really only interested in racing and perfection on the track. Mm-hmm. They're going to use some rare interviews, some home video, and a whole lot more to intend to show Michael Schumacher's softer, less competitive, more family-oriented side as a man who had to overcome some self-doubt and insecurities to become arguably the best Formula One driver ever. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I am too.
Also looking forward to this.
I'm waiting on this one.
Speaking of Netflix and Formula One, the streaming service announced officially right after the Schumacher preview debuted that there is going to be a fourth season of the popular series Formula One Drive to Survive. The first season was 2019. It looked back at the 2018 year with Liberty Media, commercial rights holders of the series, saying that they noted it drove up interest among both younger viewers because, let's face it, that's where the streaming service is most popular at this time, although it's growing exponentially. And it also drove up interest in the United States of America in the series. It did begin kind of rocky because neither Ferrari nor Mercedes were initially willing to participate, but Ferrari changed their mind late into production, but they had enough time to be included. For seasons 2 and 3, all 10 teams willingly participated in the behind-the-scenes kind of fly-on-the-wall look at the sport. While no premiere date has been officially announced, history tells us that it usually drops within a week or two of the next season's start, which right now is thought to be mid to late March. Likely not in Australia, but in Bahrain. But we still have not seen the official 2022 Formula One schedule yet.
Australia's going to mess around and lose their date altogether.
They're going to end up doing it because they've already missed 2 years in a row, and they can't commit on next year. They keep thinking that they're going to move it back towards later in the year, which I guess would be that Asian run where they're doing Russia, Turkey, and Japan, or we're supposed to do Russia, Turkey, Japan this year, and then Australia before coming to the United States. But they keep hemming and hawing, number one. And number two, they keep pushing this head in the sand look at COVID that we just said. We're going to have to figure out how to live with it because it's a virus. It ain't going away. Yeah. We just need to figure out how to tamp it down.
Right.
One more note, and it turns over to Formula E, where the season-ending awards in Formula E were handed out this past week. Among the winners, Stoffel Van Dorn of Mercedes, who claimed the Best Qualifier award. He was the driver that claimed the most pole positions last year. The Tag Heuer Fastest Driver award went to Audi driver Rene Rast. Nice last year for Audi. He claimed 3 Fastest Driver of the Race awards, the most of any driver. And the Rocket Venturi Racing but engineer Jeremy Collanson nabbed the Modus Engineer of the Year award for his help in the team's success and being the postseason award ceremony that it is. Of course, they handed the hardware to 2020-2021 series champions. That's driver Nick DeVries and the team that he drives for, Mercedes EQ, who were both highly celebrated for winning their respective titles. But if you were listening last week, you heard that Mercedes basically said, hey, we won a title. By the way, next year is going to be our last as a full-time company-owned team. Yep. They have said they would be willing to sell the operation but still provide the technology.
Right.
They just don't want to be the owner of the team is what it is.
Which is crazy.
So it could, not that we have the money to do it, it could become CRN Mercedes Racing.
Ooh.
Again, we don't have that kind of money, but I'm just saying it could.
That'd be awesome if it did.
If somebody's got some backing. Just saying.
Oh.
We'd be open.
Yep. We would.
That wraps things up for us on this particular edition of the show. Hope you enjoyed it. We think John will be back next week. By the way, once again, happy birthday to his grandchild who turns 2 this weekend. One of the 3. Again, I hate to say this on camera, but I have to look on camera at John, who's going to look at this later on, and tell him, I don't know which grandchild it is. I don't know their name.
Right.
I'm sorry. I don't. But happy birthday to them. We think John will be back again next week. We think Mother Nature might cooperate enough to allow us to get the Xfinity and the Cup Series race at Daytona in today. This is, again, the cutoff. It's the final regular season race in the Cup Series. So we'll know who the 16 drivers are next week, which means prediction time is coming quickly. Because we know the drivers that are locked into the playoffs in the Truck Series. We know the drivers next week's show that will be locked into the Cup Series playoffs. I guess we'll start to make predictions next week.
Yeah.
And then when we get the Xfinity Series, which is delayed a couple more weeks, we'll talk about them then.
Let's do it.
Something to look forward to next week. Hope you enjoy it. Be careful out there. Remember, Hurricane Ida's coming. Thoughts and prayers to everybody within the path, and that does include the northern half of the state of Alabama. Y'all take it easy. We'll talk to you next week right here on the Championship Racing Network.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.